All right, so you ready to dive into some serious Solana Gaming talk today?
Let's do it. We're going deep on this one.
No hype, no fluff, we're going straight to the source.
Talking about sources, we've got a juicy one today.
Oh yeah, we're breaking down this recent interview with Hart.
Head of GameShift at Solana Labs, no less.
The guy's practically a rock star in the Solana world, right?
He dropped some serious knowledge bombs in this Paul Barron Network interview.
So anyone who's been following Solana Gaming, you know there was that initial wave of games, right?
Right, and Hart actually pointed out that those were funded way back in 2021.
Yeah, like 2 years ago. Crazy how time flies.
It's like we're in this weird calm after the hype storm.
Which means?
We're about to hit another wave, and this one's going to be different.
Okay, I am so here for this. What's different this time around?
Hart says these new Solana games, they're not just about owning assets anymore.
Thank goodness for that. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of owning my in-game stuff. But there's got to be more to it.
Exactly. It's about how blockchain can actually make the games themselves more fun.
Now you're speaking my language. Give me an example. How are they planning to do that?
Well, Hart mentioned things like, imagine if you could stake your tokens for in-game perks.
Well, that's interesting. So instead of just holding onto your tokens, you're actively using them to enhance your gameplay.
Exactly. Or think about earning royalties on user-generated content.
Whoa, hold on. Royalties. Like, I could actually make money from the stuff I create in a game.
That's the idea. It's about creating a whole new level of engagement and ownership within these games.
This is huge. We're not just talking about shoehorning blockchain into existing games. This is about using it to fundamentally change how games are designed and played.
That's what I found so fascinating about this whole conversation. It's a whole new way of thinking about gaming.
And developers are actually getting serious about building these experiences.
And that's where GameShift comes in.
GameShift.
Yeah, it's this crazy powerful toolkit that Hart's team at Solana Labs built.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. What is GameShift?
It's specifically for game devs who want to integrate blockchain, but like in a way that actually makes sense.
Okay, because let's be real, some of those early blockchain games, they weren't exactly user-friendly.
You can say that again.
Trying to figure out those menus in wallets was like trying to decipher ancient hieroglyphics.
Right. GameShift is all about making it easier for developers to bake those features right into their games.
No more headaches, no more clunky interfaces.
Exactly.
GameShift is like having a team of blockchain wizards on call, ready to help you integrate all this cool stuff without pulling your hair out.
Precisely.
So we've got all these amazing tools to like bring blockchain to games in a way that makes sense, in a way that's fun. But what about, ownership?
Right.
Everyone keeps saying that blockchain is going to let players really own their stuff in games, but I feel like it hasn't always been the easiest thing to manage in practice.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think that's a really important point for developers to keep in mind. It's this balance between true ownership and having a user experience that's actually, usable and enjoyable. And a big part of that is, you've got these things called custodial and non-custodial wallets.
Okay, yeah. I've definitely heard those terms thrown around. Remind me again what the difference is.
So a custodial wallet is basically where the game developers kind of hold onto your assets for you.
Yep.
Which can be convenient, but you are essentially trusting them to keep everything safe.
Yeah.
A non-custodial wallet is, that's where you hold your own keys, literally, but they can be kind of a pain to set up and manage, especially for someone who's totally new to crypto.
So it's like choosing between having a super friendly bank teller who holds all your money versus having this safe that's buried in your backyard.
Yeah.
Way more secure, but so much less convenient.
Yeah, and I think that's why Hart's take on this is interesting. He's really bullish on GameShift's embedded wallet solution as a way to kind of bridge that gap, to give you that security and that ease of use.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's about making this the standard.
Right.
True digital ownership should just be the default. It shouldn't be a chore.
It shouldn't be this huge barrier to entry. Yeah. That would be awesome. That would be a game changer, no pun intended.
Mm.
But let's talk about where people actually play games, right? Mobile gaming is huge.
Sure, yeah.
But aren't app stores kind of making it tough to get these blockchain games out there?
Yeah. So Hart, he acknowledges that app store restrictions are definitely a hurdle, but he sees the potential for this Web 2 friendly approach to kind of bridge that gap, find creative ways to bring these benefits to mobile gamers, even within those limitations.
So even if they can't go full blockchain, there are still ways that they're strategizing to kind of tap into that market.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of mobile, we can't forget about Solana Saga. Oh, right.
Which is, Hart seemed really excited about that. The potential for a phone that was actually designed for blockchain gaming.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had a phone and these experiences were just baked in from day one.
Wow, that would be a game changer. A dedicated platform for this stuff. But okay, let's zoom out even further for a second.
Okay.
What about like truly immersive experiences, like augmented reality, virtual reality? Does Solana have a place in those worlds?
I think Hart was a little bit more cautious when he was talking about AR and VR, which makes sense.
Right.
It's still super early days for that tech, but he definitely sees the potential there. Like, imagine if you could step into a virtual world, that's built on the Solana blockchain, where you really own your digital assets and experiences.
Okay, now you're just blowing my mind.
I know, right?
So you've got mobile, you've got AR, VR, all this cool stuff. But what about those of us who love our consoles? Is there any chance we're going to be seeing blockchain games on PlayStation or Xbox anytime soon? That's the million-dollar question right there. And I think, Hart was pretty upfront about the challenges there. You've got to navigate these platform holders and where they stand on blockchain gaming. And then on top of that, how do you make this whole crypto experience make sense for someone who's used to using a controller, not a keyboard?
Right.
So it's not even just a technology problem. It's a design problem. It's an adoption problem.
Totally.
There is a glimmer of hope. He mentioned this game Off the Grid that's supposed to be coming out on Xbox. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Off the Grid? No. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah. And he seemed to think that, if a game like that can successfully incorporate these blockchain elements in a way that feels seamless, it could really open the floodgates.
That makes sense. Prove the model, and then everyone will jump in.
Exactly.
Okay, so Off the Grid, I'm adding that to my list. But beyond specific platforms even, what's the key to really making Solana gaming explode?
It all boils down to one thing: winning over traditional gamers.
Okay. The millions of people who haven't even thought about blockchain games yet.
It's funny you say that, because it's like that old saying, like, build it and they will come, but in this case, you got to make sure what you're building is actually fun. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that Hart really emphasized, for Solana Gaming to truly hit the mainstream. It can't just be about the tech. It has to be about making incredible, engaging games, first and foremost, that just happen to use blockchain in really cool ways. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to play a tech demo.
No, exactly.
No matter how innovative it is.
It's like remember that mobile game Flappy Bird?
Yeah.
Like, nobody saw that coming, but it just took off like wildfire because it was so simple, so addictive. And it wasn't the technology behind it, wasn't the selling point. It was the gameplay.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole space so exciting, is that it really does feel like those early days of mobile gaming where nobody knew exactly what the killer app was going to be.
Right. But everybody could feel like something big was brewing.
Yes. And speaking of big things brewing, Hart dropped a bit of a bombshell in this interview.
Okay.
He said, the really groundbreaking stuff,
Yeah.
the things that are going to change the game, it's probably not going to come from the big studios.
Interesting.
It's going to come from these independent developers, the ones who are willing to take risks to experiment.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I love that, because it's like, we're on the ground floor of this technological shift, and it really is anyone's game.
It could be anybody.
And it's those indie devs. They're the ones who are not afraid to kind of push the boundaries a little bit, to try these crazy ideas that might just totally revolutionize how we play.
Absolutely, and shake things up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've got all these pieces coming together, right?
Yep.
You've got powerful new tools for developers.
Right.
You've got, these new mobile platforms that are popping up.
Yeah.
A push for true digital ownership. And this incredible potential for innovation coming from, kind of the fringes of the gaming world.
Yeah.
What does it all mean? If we had to distill this down into a single takeaway, what would you say?
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is this, is that we're on the verge of a fundamental shift in how we even think about games.
Okay.
We're moving away from this model of games as just entertainment and towards this future where games are vibrant economies, they're creative communities.
Yes.
They're extensions of our digital selves even.
And the craziest part is we're just getting started.
Exactly.
There's so much more to come.
So much more.
This is like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
So much potential.
I know.
So for anywhere listening who's like, getting into Solana Gaming, maybe they're thinking about developing their own game or just getting involved in this world.
Yeah, what advice would you give them?
What kind of revolutionary gaming experience do you want to see? Like, what's that impossible idea, that dream game that maybe this technology can help make a reality?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. That's the question.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to create it.
That would be awesome.
Until next time, game on.